Et rebonsoir et re-bienvenue dans le MAUG du 13 novembre 2025. Faites du bruit! Vous savez que c'est mon moment préféré de toute la soirée. Hein. 2 fois, j'ai le droit de faire faites du bruit comme si j'étais une rockstar. Messieurs, dames, Paul, voilà!
Thank you.
Donc, je vais faire les traductions. Déjà, je trouve pas mes mots pour dire traduction. Ça va, on est bien barré. Voilà, je vais essayer de faire les traductions avec toi, Paul. I'm going to translate everything we say tonight.
Absolutely.
On va bien sûr être très technique avec Paul. Je vous ai présenté tout à l'heure, Paul, en termes de technicité. So we've known each other for 23.
Let's call it
24 years.
24 years.
So I'm going to tell a little story. Quand je suis arrivé dans les studios à Londres, la première fois que j'ai travaillé dans les studios.
Oh shit.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go all the way. Okay. J'ai une partie de l'histoire. Et ben Paul était là. Paul était là le premier jour où j'ai commencé. J'étais bien sûr très impressionné. Il y a beaucoup de gens très connus. Mais Paul, il avait le plus gros studio de tous les studios. C'est lui qui avait le gros truc, quoi. Et puis, on m'a vite expliqué ce que.
Analog.
Il y a beaucoup de choses, de machines analogues. Et donc, j'étais très impressionné, bien sûr. Et on est vite devenus très amis parce que vous allez voir, c'est un homme absolument adorable. Et on s'est perdu de vue pendant 10 ans et on s'est retrouvé quand il est devenu prof à l'école où je bossais en Angleterre. Et c'était lui le big boss du dernier level de tous les cours qu'on donnait. Et pas étonnant parce que Paul a une carrière florissante. You've had an amazing career. It's not finished, but you.
Yeah, thank you.
Most
Yeah,
of it is probably behind you now.
It's true. Working with B.B. King, to be honest, maybe some of you have, maybe some of you haven't heard of B.B. King. But to work with B.B.
Tout le monde connaît B.B. King.
Man, to work with B.B. King, I can assure you all, he is the most beautiful human being I ever met in my whole music career. So that was the payback for me, working with B.B. King. But yeah, I worked with Eric
Clapton. Ça, c'était en Angleterre ou en
I worked with him in LA, man. And in London, yeah.
Okay. You traveled a lot with your job, didn't you? Because yesterday we had a little chat over the dinner, and you did say that you've been quite a few times back and forth to America. Obviously, America is the next, after England, the next big engineering place, isn't it?
Arguably, it's the other way around.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah. So America is the biggest in England.
LA is the center of the universe, really, for mixing. Yeah, but yeah.
Big rooms over there.
Man, I got lucky, man. I used all the really, really good rooms in LA.
So your career started very early. I guess you were a drummer.
I was a drummer in a pop band in the 1980s.
Okay.
You know, kind of cool way to start, actually. Very cool way to start.
And from drumming, I'm sure everybody understands that, from drumming.
Batteria. Battery.
One day somebody broke a drum machine and you had to learn it in one night in order to replace your drumming.
Yeah.
And that's how you started your career as a programmer.
Absolutely.
I didn't know exactly that, but yesterday you told me. Donc c'est parce qu'il était batteur et il allait dans des sessions et un jour ils ont voulu mettre une drum machine à sa place. Donc il a pris la drum machine à la maison, il l'a appris dans une nuit, il a programmé le beat pour le morceau et il est revenu le lendemain avec la drum machine et il était devenu un programmeur, c'était plus un drummer. Et du coup il a fait une carrière comme programmeur pour Björk et Massive Attack et des gens comme ça. Et parce qu'à l'époque, I'm telling in French, at the time, not many people knew how to properly program a drum machine. You had to be a drummer.
In London 3.
You had to be a drummer to know exactly how to program a fucking drum machine, otherwise it sounds...
1984.
1984, where you started.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we could go on for about 2 hours just talking about his career and all the stories he got to tell, because he's not shy. Donc il adore parler de toutes les aventures qu'il a eues dans les studios. C'est pas un problème, on pourrait parler de ça pendant des heures. Et vous le ferez peut-être avec lui après. Vous êtes bien sûr welcome. But we're here to learn shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so we're going to learn shit about drums, aren't we?
Shit about drums, baby.
Right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go on, do it, man. Messieurs, dames, Paul Waller.
Thank you. You're too kind. First of all, I have to apologize to you guys for 2 things, okay? Right. One, I am one of those fucking English guys who never fucking learned French, okay? I'm so fucking sorry about that, okay? All right? The other fucking thing, I will stop swearing. The other thing I have to apologize to you guys for is that, look, I don't use Ableton, I use Logic. Oh, fucking hell, man. You know, so please, you know, what I will tell you, though, is that all the techniques I'm going to show you guys tonight are nothing to do with Logic. They're nothing to do with Ableton, I assure you, right? They, in fact, the techniques I show you tonight, you can do on an analog board with analog outboard. Oh, yeah, I assure you. So there's the good news, I guess, yeah? OK? So,
donc, c'est pas très important ce que vous utilisiez Logic ou Ableton, bien sûr, vous avez tous compris. Ce qu'il va vous montrer ce soir est universel et transférable, même sur des machines analogiques, bien sûr.
Mm-hmm. So, OK, I'm going to address you all as what you are, I know you are, which is sonic sculptors. You are sonic sculptors. And you are also architects, okay? What the fuck do I mean by that? Okay, so when you make a piece of music, you start with ground zero, nothing, nada, nothing, okay? And what you do is you build an elaborate structure, yeah? You do, don't you, right? Yeah? I hope you do. Otherwise, that's really minimalist music, right? Okay, let me sit down. So this is the deal. Now, if you look at this diagram over here, diagram number one, no, it's diagram number one and only diagram. But look, this is an anatomy of a mix, okay? Now, the main thing I do these days is mix. So that is, can anybody tell me what they think that is an anatomy of? Well, it's an anatomy of a whole mix, every single instrument in a mix. And you notice that, can you see where it says kick?
Yeah.
The kick is 4 dBs louder than the guitar, okay? Now, that's a very normal mix you're looking at there, okay? And I will say to you all, get an analyzer out on one of your tunes. When you're in the mix with it, even when you're not in the mix on it, and you just get an analyzer out and put it on the stereo bus, and take a look at it, and you will see that is the anatomy of an average piece of music, any piece of music, right? So, what am I getting at here? Okay, so...
tout le monde a bien compris que si vous mettez un analyseur comme celui-ci sur votre mix, quel qu'il soit, s'il est bien fichu, vous remarquerez que le kick est toujours l'élément le plus fort du mix.
Yeah, so, really... We look at frequencies when we produce music. We look at them the wrong way, because we have the low frequencies on the left of a diagram, and we have the high frequencies on the right. But sonically, the low frequencies are down, and the high frequencies are up, right? So if you were to tip that
around
on its side, you would see that the bass and the kick are indeed the foundations of a structure, okay? And this is the thing. Now, before I get further...
Il disait qu'on malheureusement, c'est à l'envers, ce truc, parce que si on pouvait l'inverser, on verrait que la basse et le kick sont vraiment la fondation de la structure, de la pyramide du mix. Là, on a l'impression que c'est l'inverse. On a l'impression qu'ils sont plus en haut de la pyramide, si vous voyez ce que je veux dire. Là, il me dit, non, en fait, c'est l'inverse. Ils sont en bas de la pyramide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So... Okay, look, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach you some techniques. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions, and at least ask yourself these questions, okay? So, most people who don't have my experience come to me with a problem, which is they tell me that they struggle with having enough clarity for their kick drum in their mixes, okay?
Donc, la plupart des gens qui n'ont pas d'expérience viennent le voir en lui disant qu'ils ont un problème sur la clarité de leur kick drum, de leur drum, de leur grosse caisse, n'est-ce pas?
So I never have that problem, but hey, that's easy for me to say because I'm really experienced, okay? So here's the deal, right? I'll tell you one thing first, which is that in that frequency range where you saw the kick there, if you have done high-pass filters on everything in your mix except the bass and the kick, then everything from 100 hertz down is basically, well, 200. Let's be fair. 120 hertz, basically. Everything from there downwards, there are only two things there in your mix, right? There's only a kick drum and a bass there, okay? Now, here's what the mistake that most people make, and I blame this on music production academies of the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, it's their fault.
You know this. Okay, so bottom line is, young producers were taught to sidechain the bass from the kick. You know all this technique? You all know that? Yeah, you all know that. Of course you. Now, I'm going to tell you that in the old days, that was desperate measures if you did that. I'm telling you, that was desperate measures. You don't have to do that. You really don't. You don't need to compromise the bass for the sake of the kick. You do not have to do that. And I'll show you how you can get the kick punching through your mix clearly without doing that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Donc, Paul disait que si vous mettiez un low pass filter sur tous les éléments de votre mix, à part le kick et la basse, il restera normalement dans les basses en dessous de 120 Hz, normalement que le kick et la basse. Il n'y a que ça qui doit rester là normalement. Et au lieu d'utiliser un sidechain pour entre le kick et la basse pour essayer de faire apparaître le kick à travers la basse, si vous avez besoin de faire ça, c'est vraiment désespéré. Vous auriez normalement pu faire autre chose avant, c'est ce qu'il va nous montrer.
Cool. Okay, so here's the deal. Think about the anatomy of a kick drum, okay? The anatomy of a kick drum, you actually have 3 constituent parts, okay? 3 components to every single kick drum, okay? And what you have are 1, the transient, not the punch.
Le transitoire.
Great guess. Transient. As if it was a real kick drum, the beater hits the drum head. And it's actually more of a click, okay? In fact, it is a click. With drum machines, if we look at 808, we look at 909, we look at, drum machines, the transient is actually a click, a synthesizer generated click. Okay, so that's one part of your kick. The next part of your kick is the body, the punch, the thump. Yeah, boom. Yeah, or doom, or boom. Yeah, okay. So that I'm calling the body of your kick drum. Okay, so we have our transient, we have our body, and there's only one other element, guys, and that is sub. Okay. Low shit, okay? So, I guarantee you guys, that's the deal, all right? So, when you go for... All right, here's a little thing to add to this, right? You might want a distorted or at least saturated kick drum, right? If you want that, don't do that. Don't hardwire that into the kick sound, because all you have to do is add some saturation after. That's easy. Add saturation, distortion. Add that after you've made your kick drum sound. Yeah? Okay?
Cool. Donc, il y a 3 éléments pour un kick drum, n'est-ce pas? Le transient, le click, le partie aiguë, le thump, c'est-à-dire le corps qui vous tape plutôt vers le torse, et la sub qui vous tape plutôt vers les boyaux. Et ces 3 éléments sont constitutifs de n'importe quel kick. Si vous voulez distordre ou saturer votre kick, faites-le après avoir assemblé les 3 éléments. Ne le faites pas avant d'avoir constitué un kick que vous aimez sans l'avoir distordu.
Oh, let's get rid of that. There's a kick drum, okay? Not the best kick drum you've ever heard, and not the best BPM you've ever heard. Let's just make that, let's make that 1, 2, 6. That's still really slow for modern music, but come on, we're making a kick drum here, so here you go. Okay? It's not the best, not the worst kick drum you've ever heard, but the important thing is that, once again, okay, look, I did tell you, this is not Logic specific, this is universal. What I've done here, for instance, I have used battery by Native Instruments. You do not need to use battery by Native Instruments to achieve what I'm going to show you here, okay? So, in fact, Ableton drum racks. You can do that you can do this in Ableton drum racks absolutely fine. You can do it in anything that is designed for you to make drum kits and create drum kits with, okay? So let's show you what I'm doing here, okay? And everything will become pretty clear to you. So first things first, let's look inside battery. Now, what you can see here is I have rows A, B, C, D, E, and F. Shall I zoom that for you a bit? Okay. We have rows A, B, C, D, and F, and each one has 12 cells. That means each of these rows is 1 octave. Yeah? The top row they're all bodies, okay? They're not the transient click, they're not the sub, they are bodies. The next row after that are clicks. Okay. The row after that, surprise, surprise, are really, really low.
Yeah, we love the sub in the blackout, really. It's lovely.
You can only, you can hear that one nicely, yeah? That's sub, that's super low frequency. See, the low end of a real kick drum, a real bass drum on a real drum kit, is around about pretty damn definitely 40 hertz. That's why we have sub in a kick drum, because the kick drum is the only instrument in your mix that is occupying that 40 hertz region. Yeah?
Ouais, vous avez tous compris?
Okay, cool.
Oui, quand tu as un sound system, c'est intéressant. Oui. Pas le cas ici, mais...
I have some great news for you guys. Some really cool news. These samples that I'm using here,
Yeah.
I have made available for you all, free, via the beautiful Freddie and the beautiful
Oui, vous pouvez
Fastlane.
aller télécharger tous les samples qu'il utilise et les plugins qu'il va utiliser ce soir sur notre site. Ils sont déjà prêts sur la page du MAUG.
Yeah! I'll drink to that. Non-alcoholic beer, by the way. Because this is the deal, right? I don't want to come here and show you some great sounds and some great plugins and shit, and you walk away and you can't do it for yourself, because I would feel like a cheat, you know? So what I've done is, even when you see me use expensive plugins here, I have given you some excellent, truly excellent free plugins that will do all the stuff that I'm showing you to do here. So as you're an Ableton group, I'm guessing that you're going to use Ableton drum racks, right? Yeah.
Why
There.
not?
Or maybe not. Maybe not. But anyway.
We might leave this room and thinking Logic's better. Just,
Hey, yeah. How much?
It's all right. I've given you a T-shirt already.
Yeah. No, look, here it is, right? I really like Ableton. That's the truth. I really like Ableton. The thing is, I come from a generation, believe it or not, before Ableton. Logic has been around for a long time. So this is my comfort zone, and Ableton is your comfort zone. That's the deal. That's the deal. And I recommend everybody get out your comfort zone. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to get out of your comfort zone and use something different. But for tonight, I need to be able to, do some groovy stuff for you guys.
Control.
Yeah, I forgot the two fingers.
Yeah.
So, okay, look, here's the deal. So, why have I done octaves of each component? We then go on to the next row, D, which is more subs. Whew. Yeah? We go into row E, which is even more. These are actually tails. So if you want to add a tail to your kick drum, I've given you some tails for your kick drums. And then lastly, I've got some 808s, which make great bodies for kicks. Okay? And the reason that I've done them an octave apart is this, okay? When I am making my kick, I will want them to be an octave apart. So I know that octave 2 is clicks. No, it's subs then, is it? 1 second. Everything sounds like... There's a body for sure. Hang on, I think I just turned the click way down earlier. So let's just turn the velocity of that up. Yeah. There's your click, okay? So let me do ask me, because I want you to walk away with this firmly in your mind. It's like, yeah, I get it. So I've put them whole octaves apart, so that if I want to change the click sound, I know that it won't be on C3 because that's the beginning of the next type of sound. I know that it will be within an octave range, so it will be somewhere between C1 and C2. So therefore, between C2 and C3, sorry, I can then audition the clicks. And I go to the next octaves down, and I'm in a different type of sound. This is just so that I don't get really confused when I'm making a kick drum. Makes sense, right? I don't know if you want to say anything to that, Freddie.
Ils ont mis une octave à part pour pouvoir justement se balader entre les différentes textures et les mélanger confortablement, sans se tromper.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So here you go. Look, here's my kick drum. What I've done is I've used the 3 component parts that I talked to you about. I've used the click for the transient. I've used the body for the character. And I've used the sub for that low thump. Here's the great thing. This is the most important reason I've done this, is that when, say you've started with your drums are sounding great. You had a bass line. The kick drum's getting a little teensy bit lost, but then you add some synth parts and you add your vocal and you add whatever you're going to add, a bunch of stuff, and then suddenly you're like, right, let's mix this down, and you start tweaking, and you get to that point where you're like, fuck, I'm losing the kick drum, and you mustn't lose the kick drum. In fact, how many of you, for instance, make EDM, electronic dance music? Like, nobody?
Est-ce que qui a fait de
Cool. You don't have to. Yeah, but cool. I mean, the thing is, in modern music, especially EDM, in modern music, the kick drum is like critical. You have to not just have a loud kick drum. The kick drum is the loudest thing in the mix. Are we agreed?
Yeah.
Or maybe you just didn't think of that, but the kick drum is.
Il faut jamais perdre le kick drum en EDM, non?
And if you want me to remind you, there's the evidence, okay? There's the kick drum, clearly 4 dBs louder than the guitars and synths and vocals and stuff, and it's even 10 dBs louder than the bass, and that is an average piece of music. So I am right. The kick drum is the loudest thing in the mix, okay? So always know that as well. It's and I'm going to tell you something more about that. So what I'm saying to you here is, what you can now do is you can play your kick drum, and at any time in your mix, you can modify your kick drum. You can go, okay, hang on a minute. I think I want more body in this. So you select your body, and you just turn it up. Whoops. Something's not going right.
I can't hear the difference.
Yeah, so, I had 2 clicks. What a fool. There you go. Now let's do that again. Oh, I know what the hell I did wrong. Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm going to come in here and find it. There's my low.
My limiter is turning on. That's the reason why it does happen.
Is that what's happening? Right, thank you. All right, so look, I can go in here. Bottom line is, I actually want to hear all 3, but I want to be able to turn things up and down. You heard me, for instance, make the click louder. Let's make the click quieter. Okay. Turn the click up. Okay. The sound system in here is a bit weird, so stick with me. It's not the best, but it's not bad. So okay. So, any questions, Freddie? Do you want to ask me any questions for the good people, or do anybody in the audience want to ask me
anything? On a compris
anything?
que voilà, grâce à la séparation des 3 éléments, on a le contrôle sur le corps, la sub ou le clic, quoi, séparément. C'est important. Voilà. Est-ce que the question I've got is, est-ce que would you tune them?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can tune them. You're going to do the tuning within. If you use an Ableton drum racks, you're going to do the tune. Look, I can tune in here.
On va accorder les trois couches, n'est-ce pas?
Let me do this for you. There's to tune it in battery. This is where we tune. You just click on a drum pad that you want to tune, and you tune it here. And tuning is actually really important. That's a great question, because tuning is really important. Often, if you're having issues between the kick and the bass, retuning the kick drum can be a really great way to solve the issue.
Yeah. Si ton kick disparaît à cause de ta basse, enfin si tu as un problème de compatibilité, c'est vrai que réaccorder le kick peut complètement gérer le problème.
Yeah.
Just to ask the question so you can explain it. When you're tuning the kick drum, are you tuning it to the fundamental of the scale of the track, or where do you look to tune your kick?
Okay, I don't tune to the fundamental of the track. I really don't. Drums, okay, this is, okay, a lot of people say you must tune your kick drum and your drums even to the root note of a piece of music. Drums are not tuned instruments, okay? There are tuned percussion instruments. Drums are not amongst them, okay? What you're doing is, okay, another great question, right? Because what you're doing is low frequencies are long, slow frequencies, and they can really mess with each other. So what you're doing is, what I'm doing is getting it to a tuning that is not causing phase issues with either the other kick samples or, more importantly, with the bass. Okay, so I'm tuning it to get it into a frequency area where it will not create phase issues. When you hear those issues and you retune it to correct those phase issues, and the phase issues that kicks and basses cause are actually cancellation. Okay, what you're getting is areas of the kick and the bass are actually occupying the exact same frequency range. Therefore, they're nulling each other in certain frequency areas.
So, la question de Adam était bien sûr, est-ce que tu, vu qu'on parlait d'accorder les différentes couches du kick, c'est vrai que Paul a dit oui, il faut accorder les différentes couches du kick, ça c'est important. Mais la question que Adam a posée, c'est où est-ce que tu accordes le kick en général? Est-ce que tu l'accordes sur la fondamentale, sur la clé du morceau? Et Paul, sa réponse était non, je n'accorde pas le kick sur la clé du morceau. Il dit que les drums, c'est-à-dire la batterie, n'est pas un instrument que l'on va accorder. Les percussions, oui, mais pas le drum kit, pas la batterie. Lui, ce qu'il cherche dans son accordage de kick, c'est surtout à ne pas créer de l'annulation de phase entre son kick et sa basse. Ça, c'est hyper important. Donc, il ne cherche pas forcément à accorder le kick dans la fondamentale ou la clé du morceau, mais surtout, il cherche à éviter les annulations de phase qu'il peut y avoir entre les différents instruments qui feraient perdre complètement l'énergie des instruments. Your turn, go on, mate.
I'm going to add more to that, okay? There are modern producers and there are modern teachers who tell you and who tune their drums or think they're tuning their drums to the key of the piece of music. What that often does is actually make the drums sound awful. You know, drums are not tuned instruments. If you tune them to a key and that's what to you is important, you're kind of ignoring the fact that we actually want this to sound like a fucking great kick drum, not, you know, and you might, and what I hear, I can often hear that people have tuned their drums to the piece of music because the drums sound a bit, you know, so, you know, go for it and do it. I mean, you do what you're going to do. At the end of the day, there are no rules, yeah? But drums are not tuned instruments. We just want a kick drum to sit in the right frequency range in the track, be doing all the right things, sound like $1 million, and we want it to work harmoniously with the bass, okay?
I'm going to cut that into an Instagrammable piece, what you just said.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's very important because ce que Paul vient de dire, c'est que on va souvent apprendre aux gens à accorder leur batterie. En faisant ça, les gens ignorent la puissance et la puissance d'une batterie en fin de compte. On entend en fait on peut entendre qu'un drum kit a été accordé parce qu'il perd toute son authenticité. Il perd toute sa puissance, en fait. Donc, il faut complètement ignorer cette histoire d'accordage et plutôt se focaliser sur la puissance naturelle que peut avoir un drum kit quand il sonne bien, en fait, hein, sans se préoccuper de ce qu'il y a autour de lui.
Okay, cool. So, look, this is just the start of getting a great kick drum, though, okay? But can you all see, I believe you can see, that any change as my mix evolves, I can go in and tweak that kick drum in a way that I could not tweak just a single kick sample.
Grâce aux différentes couches, pendant que le mix évolue et qu'il rajoute différents sons et qu'il commence à perdre son kick dans le mix, il peut facilement rajouter du corps ou rajouter du click pour ne pas perdre le mix et le garder bien dans le devant de son mix.
Let me prove that to you, okay? There's a very expensive drum plugin available, and I've just shown you a way to do what this plugin does, and I've just shown you how to do it for free, guys. Yay! So here's a very expensive plugin that's actually a brilliant plugin. It's this, and it's called Kick by Sonic Academy, which is part of Slate. All right, and this is a brilliant plugin, but what it does is exactly what I just did. Okay, it splits the click into a transient click, a body, and a sub. I'm not going to hang around with this because I'm not trying to sell you this plugin. In fact, I'm trying to say don't buy this plugin. Okay, you don't need to buy that plugin, but just to show you that this is not some weird idea that I've come up with. It's common knowledge amongst should we say experts, people who will go into business to make plugins to sell you and have to make a great plugin because you won't come back and buy any more of their plugins. So you, as I say, I've given you all of these samples and you now know how to assemble them in your drum sampler of choice. Okay, you're going to make.
Vous n'avez pas besoin d'acheter Kit 3 de Sonic Academy. Sonic Academy fait exactement la même chose qu'il vient de vous montrer. Ce plugin, vous pouvez tout à fait reproduire ça dans les drum racks d'Ableton Live et vous faire vos 3 couches et avoir le contrôle comme on a dans Kick 3 de l'enveloppe, du tuning, de tous les aspects de chacune des couches d'un kick drum.
I guarantee, for instance, when I'm mixing and I get to that, you know, when you're like 95, 6, 7, 8, 9% of like this is the mix. And the tiniest details really matter. And, you know, you've got to get those miniature details perfect. Just turning up that little click in the kick drum usually solves that. For instance, if you're not getting that kick quite clear enough, then often that click, because that's the point of contact for the kick drum, you know? So if you're losing the kick, you usually hear the kick turns a bit muddy. Yeah? The kick suddenly kind of goes, you know, and we want to go, dun, 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 right? Okay? Turn the click up. Go in there and do what I did and just go in there and say, all right, I know what to fix this. Yeah, I'm going to turn that little click up. Yeah? So, look, sorry, yeah. Look, plenty more to talk about. So okay, so what I've done there is given you a way to create a kick drum where you can slowly, remember I was talking about being sonic sculptors, right? So you can carry on chipping away, sculpting that kick. Carry on. But what I've done there is make a half decent. The click is way too loud, so let's just get it sounding.
No, the click's down there.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, Freddie, you should be doing this, Freddie. Let's turn the click down.
Yeah.
And his limiter is killing my kick drum. Yeah. Wow. Your limiter is doing some.
Yeah, they've installed it today, actually.
It's beating the shit out of my kick drum, man.
They've installed it today. It's a limiter for the room.
And it limits
Yeah.
40 to 100 hertz.
Le nouveau
exactly
limiteur installé au blackout aujourd'hui.
Damn. Okay, so look, let's bear with it, because even if I don't make it sound great here tonight, at least you can walk away with the techniques and you can make it sound great, okay? So the next thing I do, all right, here's another thing. I'm going to say, I suppose, a couple of things that may seem a little bit controversial here tonight. I'm going to tell you not to use compressors on your drums. Okay? That sounds controversial, maybe? Yeah, do not. I stopped using compressors on... use compressors on subgroups, okay? So use bus compressors. So if you have a drum bus, and you should have a drum bus, definitely use a compressor on that, yes. And use parallel compression, drum compression, yeah? You all know about parallel drum compression, I'm guessing? I'm gonna wipe the floor with that for you guys. You're gonna love this. Okay, so, don't use compressors on the tracks for drums. And I'll tell you why. And it's really obvious when I tell you, okay? The problem with compressors on drums is this. What compressors do, and you cannot argue with me because I am right, okay? Compressors kill transients. Do they not? Of course they do. And what's important to us with all drum sounds? Transients. So why go and kill your transients? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Do not use compressors on drum sounds apart from on drum bus and as parallel compression. Okay?
Paul essaie d'être controversial. Quand tu es en français? Il crée la controverse en nous disant de ne pas utiliser de compresseurs sur les pistes individuelles des drums, mais seulement sur les groupes de drums, lorsque les drums sont réunis dans un groupe, ou bien même sur, bien sûr, les groupes de compression parallèle qu'on appelle. On avait notre ami Stasma, Julien Stasma, qui est venu faire 1 heure de présentation sur les process, les traitements parallèles. Donc on connaît tous tout ce qu'il faut savoir sur les traitements parallèles, notamment la compression parallèle, qu'on appelle aussi la New York compression. Donc dans ce cas-là, vous allez utiliser bien sûr de la compression, ça fait partie du principe, mais pas sur les pistes individuelles, parce que ça va tuer le transitoire. Les compresseurs vont indubitablement changer la transitoire, c'est-à-dire l'attaque de vos sons. Et donc Paul, il dit qu'il a raison, parce que le compresseur va tuer les transitoires. Or, nous, ce qu'on cherche dans les drums et dans les batteries, c'est le transitoire, le punch, l'attaque du son. Donc, en mettant des compresseurs sur les pistes, on va tuer l'attaque du son.
Okay, so what do I do instead of put a compressor? Because I do want to deal with dynamics with drums.
Clipping.
Well, to me, it's great that you said that, because we're going to get to that kind of thing. But clipping, with clippers, I'm going to actually send to a clipper. Because a clipper I use really as a kind of degrade the sound. I don't use it for soft clipping. I want to make it sound like an S1000 or a SP1200 or something. So I'll use a clipper to actually degrade the sound of the kick. That's what and I'll use that as a send, actually. Yeah. Anyway, what I'm going to do, guys and gals, is I'm going to use, of course, a transient shaper. Okay?
Oui.
Yeah. That's what you need on your drums. Because what does a transient shaper do? It allows you to increase the punch of a kick or decrease the punch of a kick. And it allows you to increase the sustain or shorten the sustain of a kick or any drum. So that's what you need to do as far as dynamics are concerned. And a transient shaper is a dynamics tool. It's perfect for drums. So if you don't believe me, just try it. And I guarantee you're going to be loving the results of using a transient shaper instead of a compressor on your drums. And
so 1 second. Donc,
Go for it.
Paul, donc, il y avait quelqu'un dans la salle a dit qu'on devrait peut-être utiliser des clippers à la place des compresseurs sur les pistes. Paul dit que oui, les clippers sont intéressants, mais Paul ne les utilise pas en soft clipping, qui nous permet, je vous le rappelle, de réduire la différence entre le pic et le RMS, mais plutôt en hard clipping, c'est-à-dire que là, le clipper est entendu, c'est un outil de saturation, et il va l'utiliser en général en send, c'est-à-dire en auxiliaire, sur une piste de retour, et non pas en insert sur une piste directement. Et à la place, donc, pour reprendre, Paul nous a dit que à la place des compresseurs, lui, il utilisait les transient designers. Donc en français, je pense que ça s'appelle des transient designers, n'est-ce pas? On en a un, par exemple, dans le drum bus de Ableton Live. Il y a un bouton de transient designer, qui sont des outils qui nous permettent de contrôler l'attaque, d'en mettre plus ou d'en mettre moins, de contrôler le decay, d'en mettre plus ou d'en mettre moins, sans affecter le son de manière aussi complexe qu'un compresseur.
yeah, okay. So there's only one thing better than a transient designer. transient shaper, right? There's only one thing better, and of course that is a multi-band transient shaper. Okay. Now, okay, so now we're getting serious, right? And this, I guarantee you, after my my main EQ, this is the main plugin I use. Every single mix. I am a professional mixer. I mix every week of my life. And I guarantee you that after my EQ, this is my number 2. This is my second most used plugin. I don't only use it on drums, I use it on anything rhythmic, okay? So any drums, all drums, okay? Bass, great for bass. This will tighten your bass like you would not believe. I use it on, here's a great usage for a multi-band transient shaper, which is percussive loops, okay? And they might be percussion, or they might be synthesizers going, or whatever. They might be rhythm guitars. This is great for anything rhythmic. And here's the deal, right? Where your regular transient shaper has one attack and one sustain, I've got 3 attacks and 3 sustains. So I can control the attack and the sustain of the low frequencies, of the mid frequencies, and the high frequencies, okay? And I can control the sustain, of course, also of the low, mid, and high frequencies independently. And also, as you can see here, this also has an EQ built in. Wow. Now, what I'm going to say to you guys is, this plugin here, bear this in mind. I'm not trying to tell you things, but bear this in mind, right? Black Friday is just around the corner, and you'll be able to pick you'll be able to pick this plugin up for about 20 euros, okay? But don't worry, because I did tell you I was going to give you something that would do this job, and I have, okay? So I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this brilliant company that make free plugins called Analog Obsession. Anybody heard of Analog Obsession? I've given you guys, as part of the pack that you just, contact Fastlane to grab, okay? So I've given you an Analog Obsession multi-band transient shaper. Hey!
Donc, je suis sûr que tout le monde a compris.
Like I said, I'm not going to come here and say, hey, look what I've got, you haven't got it. That to me would be a bad session. I'm here to give you the good stuff.
Donc, Paul nous propose, au lieu d'utiliser un transient shaper sur nos drums, d'utiliser un multiband transient shaper. À contrario des transient shapers traditionnels, celui-ci a 3 attaques, 3 sustains qui nous permettront donc de contrôler l'attaque et le sustain sur les différentes bandes de fréquences, comme vous l'avez deviné. Celui-ci est payant, mais Black Friday, dans 2 semaines, il y a Black Friday, vous l'aurez pour 20 €. Mais dans le pack qu'il nous a donné à télécharger sur notre site, il a mis une version gratuite d'un transient shaper, multiband transient shaper qui vient de la compagnie qui s'appelle Analog Obsession. Vous pouvez le télécharger gratuitement.
Yes.
How does it work?
How does it work? First of all, let me quickly tell you how Analog Obsession works. All the plugins are free, but he would be really happy if you made him a little donation or something. You really don't have to make him a donation, but it is freeware. How does it work? Okay, let's get our kick drum. Now, you know what's going to happen here is the house limiter, which is removing low frequencies from 100 hertz down, is going to fuck with me, right? But let's see what happens, all right? But look, there's my kick drum. Let's take this out. In fact, let's completely... Oh, this is going to be a nightmare. Okay, let's go. Let's see what happens. You can already hear that sound. Here it's cutting it out. I mean, that is not how my kick drum is supposed to sound, guys. So look, let's flatten the EQ. I mean, this is a nightmare. I don't quite know. I'm going to show you this. Holy shit. Look, let's just take all of this off, and let's see if I can show you the principles. But I think you all know how it works. Look, that's nothing happening, okay? Now, I listen to my kick drum, and don't forget the body, to me, is the most important part of it. So that's going to be mid-frequencies as far as this multi... So let's make the body punchier. I mean, the limiters here are really messing with this, but
maybe if you put down your BPM, the limiter will not be activated at each time the kick.
Okay, let's try it. I'll go down to 100 BPM, yeah? Let's go to 50 BPM. You know, I mean, if that's going to help, that's great. And yeah, well, thank you, because it has kind of improved it a little bit. Okay, look, just to show you, look, that is a lot. I mean, I wouldn't normally add this much, but there's just the attack, the mid frequencies, attack, boosted. Let's take it out. Okay, that's quite tame. Right, now, next most important is, for me, is going to be to get that click, that transient. So I'm going to boost the attack of the transient. You definitely heard the click come through more there, yeah? Okay. Now, and then we can look at the attack of the sub. You heard that? I'm really having to overdo it here for you guys. If you look at the settings I would normally use, they're not as dramatic as this. Now, I'm going to say another thing at this point is, okay, a lot of the time, for the sake of the groove of your track and getting that kick to really sit pretty in your mix, what can be really important is to shorten the sustain of your kick. That really, really helps, okay? It will stop it bleeding over into other rhythmic aspects, other drum and percussion sounds. It will stop it bleeding into the bass.
Paul nous dit qu'un autre aspect important du sculptage de votre kick, c'est de descendre le decay sur la sub. Ça éviterait que le kick aille bleed, comment on dirait, baver, baver sur les autres éléments rythmiques.
Okay, so what I regularly do is this. Let's try and be really drastic. I mean, bottom line. But here's the thing, I mean, play around with the sustain and maybe don't worry about sustain until later in your mix and then go, actually, let's just tighten that kick drum. Any of you who have used Akai MPCs will be very familiar with what shortening the sustain of drum sounds, particularly kick sounds, is about and how it really helps the rhythm. But the other beautiful thing about this kick drum is that you have an EQ. So let's get some more click in it, more transient. Oh, yeah? Let's get some more thump in it. And I always look, you can see, can you see the waveform? You can see where the thump is, yeah? And let's get some more sub in it. Now we're really beginning to build a kick, right? Okay, if I take this out, you might prefer that. You know, that might be the right kick for the track. But I'm just overdoing it here for you guys to see how powerful these techniques are, yeah?
It's just so you can go over that sound system as well. That's terrible.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions so far? Because I'm now going to move on to something more.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Okay, so say I'm happy with that kick drum, at least for now, okay? What I'm going to do now is another serious trick, okay? Okay, so remember I showed you something earlier. I showed you that the loudest, and I've said it more than once, the loudest thing in the mix, I can hear people talking.
It's the kick drum.
Is the kick drum. The loudest thing in the mix is the kick drum. So how many of you think a lot about gain structure? Do you all know what gain structure is? Yeah? Because gain structure is like, if you don't get a good gain structure at the beginning of your mix, you're in trouble. And I tell you what, when I was learning to mix decades ago, the one thing that always screwed me was that I'd think, yeah, this mix is coming together great. And then I'd run out of headroom. Yeah?
Donc, Paul nous dit que l'autre sujet important à tacler sur le mix, bien sûr, c'est la structure de gain. Qu'on appelle ça en français? Ou le niveau, structure de gain, on va garder structure de gain. Et lorsqu'il a commencé à mixer, invariablement, à la fin de ses mix, il n'avait pas assez de headroom, c'est-à-dire en français, de headroom, c'est-à-dire de headroom, c'est-à-dire de marge de gain dans le master, n'est-ce pas? Et c'est une erreur qu'on a tous fait, bien sûr. Donc, oui.
Here's the deal. Let's show you how to get a great gain structure.
Yeah.
Every single mix, okay? And it's easy. It's actually easy. Okay. We have to talk, though, about how loud your mix is going to be, right? Now, what I do is I go for a minus 0.1 as my output level on my master bus, okay? You need to know that, okay? Now, some of you, a lot of you even might say, but Paul, that's incredibly loud, that's crazy loud. You know? What with this whole Spotify thing, you know, apparently it's supposed to be minus 14 LUFS. You know about all this stuff, or am I?
Oh, great. Oh, well.
Okay, we're back. You know about this, right? Okay, so there's a secret. There's a real secret to that. And it is the trick that all of the pros are using is they go way above that, but then they turn it down. That's all you do. You actually get as much juice into your mix as you possibly can, okay? Because everybody else did. And if you were the good guy who followed the rules of the minus 14 LUFS of Spotify, your mix is going to sound really quiet and it's going to sound really tame. That's just the truth, right? So what I do is start my gain structure with, of course, the loudest thing in the mix, which is going to be the kick drum. Hey, so what I do is I do this. Very simple. Here's my kick drum. One more thing to do to my kick drum is this. Now, your kick drum, we're going to talk stereo field here very quickly, okay? So stereo field, your kick drum, or at least the low frequencies of your kick drum, are best to be mono. You probably all know this. Yeah, okay. So you're going to want to mono your low frequency. You're going to want to mono your, I mean, generally speaking, I mono the whole kick drum. I get the idea. You all know that you're going to want to mono your kick drum, certainly the low frequencies in your bass, but maybe the whole bass. You're going to want the snare drum not to be mono, but you're going to want it to be in the phantom center of the mix. And you're going to want your lead vocal to fundamentally be in the phantom center of the mix. So to mono my kick drum, I use this plugin. It's a free plugin, and it is in your little pack that you can go pick up. Okay, this is made by one of the best plugin companies out there. They're called Tone Projects. And you can see here, it's called Fastlane. And here's how it works. This is how much stereo. So with a kick drum or a bass, I'm just going to go, well, I don't want zero spread. But here's the sexy bit. You can, if I put the frequency at its highest, everything below that will be monoed. Okay, so if I put the frequency all the way to its highest, which is 2.5K that it will give you, and I bring the stereo width down to 0, I've effectively made that kick completely mono. But what I sometimes do, and certainly do with basses, is allow some of the higher frequencies and the high mid frequencies to actually fan out into a stereo thing, you know? So that my low thump, my kick and bass low thump is very much a mono thing, but then I'm allowing some higher frequency content in the kick and bass, but particularly the bass, to actually have a bit of stereo. But let's make that kick completely mono.
Juste pour récapituler vite fait, donc le plugin que Paul vient de tirer va nous permettre de rendre les parties des fréquences basses et mid-basse du kick et de la basse d'ailleurs mono, donc au centre du mix, tout en laissant les parties plus hautes, les fréquences plus hautes, un peu plus larges, grâce au bouton le plus à gauche ici, qui va nous permettre, c'est un crossover qui va nous permettre donc de décider à quel point, à quelle fréquence on décide de rendre les choses mono et rendre les choses stéréo. C'est une chose importante à faire avant de commencer la structure de gain comme il allait le faire, ok?
Okay. So, cool. So I've done the mono, and I'm ready to sort my gain structure for my mix. And
Let's do this.
I don't only do this when I'm mixing, I do this from the start. Because personally, when I'm producing music, I tend to start with the drums anyway. Or if I don't start with the drums are in there pretty quickly. And as soon as my kick drum's in the mix, this is what I do. I put a limiter onto that channel, and I make sure I put the limiter low down. And I've given you some great limiters, of course, but this one is FabFilter Pro L2. It's like a bit of a standard, limiter. So I'll put my limiter on, but before I put the limiter on, I just want to see where that, now there you go, that kick drum's monitoring and it's clipping. Can't have that. Do not allow it to clip. So I can see that that's clipping at 0.0 dBs. So I'll pull that 0.2 dBs down. Clear that clip meter. Okay, now let's see if we can get away with turning it up 0.1 of a dB, because I want this to be as loud as it can be. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, clear the clip meter. There you go. That's as loud as that kick drum can be without clipping.
So is the limiter doing anything to it yet?
Not yet, I haven't even turned the limiter on.
Oh, it's not on, okay, sorry.
Okay, so that is now as loud as that kick drum can possibly be without clipping. At this point, I put on a limiter. So that kick drum, the limiter is not going to allow that kick drum to get any louder. And I know it's not clipping. Bang. Perfect gain. Everything else in your mix, you will balance, you will find a level for it that fits with that kick drum level. Get me?
Donc, Paul nous dit qu'il commence son mix, c'est vrai que c'est assez controversial. On pourrait dire ça.
Surely not.
Voilà, donc vous avez vu, hein, il a mis le kick jusqu'à -1, -0,1 décibels pour pas que ça aille clipper dans la piste ou même ailleurs. Enfin, surtout pas dans le master d'ailleurs. Et après, une fois qu'il avait fait ça, il met son limiteur qui. So the limiter is not doing much, is it right now? Is it?
It's not really doing anything much at all. Let's have a look. But don't forget, because why is it not doing much? Because I'm not clipping. Yeah. I'm not allowing that kick drum to clip, but I am making sure that clip is as loud as it can possibly be without clipping. Let's put the limiter on. Don't forget, use the limiter as last plugin, because you might want to add some other stuff. Yeah. And if they come after the limiter, they're going to screw the limiter. The limiter can't do its job anymore. Okay?
Assurez-vous que le limiteur soit le dernier dans la chaîne d'effets, bien sûr, sur le kick. Pour pas qu'un effet qui vienne après le limiteur aille niquer la structure que vous avez mis en place, en fait.
Okay, so let's look at the limiter. Yeah, let's check out what it's doing. Oh, that's on +1. I've now taken it down to 0. And you can see it's doing nothing. But here's a secret, because I'm limiting it now. If I do want to turn, I shouldn't tell you this because this is getting dangerous. You could, of course, turn your limiter up. And it'll take a lot, and it'll get, so but I don't want to turn that up because I'm going to turn shit up later in the mix, okay? So, yeah.
Ce qui est intéressant avec cette technique de ce qu'il disait Paul tout à l'heure, c'est que maintenant que vous avez mis cette relation en place avec le kick dans votre mix, vous allez mixer autour de ça. Ça va être votre référence et tous les autres sons vont partir autour de ça. Mais le kick restera le plus fort possible, si vous voulez. Il sera le seul élément qui ne sera pas limité, qui sera le plus fort possible. Il sera -0,1 du master. C'est très inacadémique. C'est pas du tout académique ce qu'il est en train de montrer.
Okay. Any questions? Because I'm now going to move on to... Yes, go for it.
Yeah, that should raise some concerns.
Not raising concerns, but just your opinion. So, headroom for the master.
Yes.
For mastering, for the stage of mastering.
Yes.
Do you think about that at all when you're mixing or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I master too, because let's put it this way. Your plugins on your stereo bus are mastering. You are effectively mastering, okay? Yeah? When you start putting plugins on your stereo bus, that is effectively mastering. So I always go, like I said, for -0.1. That means it's not clipping, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm going for something as loud as I can get without clipping. That's all I'm concerned about at this stage. But then, when I have to send out versions for Spotify, Apple Music, etc., I load the bounced stereo mix into a new file, and I will use various plugins to then bring it down, turn it down, that's all, just turn it down. One I use a lot, and like I said, guys, I'm really not trying to advertise paid plugins to you, but one that is I tend to use for this, so as you asked, I will show you. It's Sonible's Smart, let's just, hang on, let's just... yeah, okay, it's Sonible's Smart Limit. What Smart Limit does is, as you'll see, you can tell it what you want to master for, and I choose Spotify. So when I now run my mix through Smart Limiter, it will do that reduction in volume for me.
Si vous savez pas quoi offrir à Paul pour Noël, vous l'offrez des plugins, okay? Just saying, if they don't know what to give you for Christmas, maybe some plugins would do the trick.
Really?
We saw the list of plugins you got.
Oh, it's a bit crazy, yeah. It's a bit, but I am a professional, guys. If somebody should have that many plugins, it's me. So, okay, all right. So, I don't know. Does that answer?
Donc, oui. Donc, la question d'Adam, c'était est-ce que tu te concernes, c'est-à-dire que est-ce que tu penses au master ingénieur, c'est ça, hein? Est-ce que tu penses au mastering quand tu fais ton mix, parce que si tu donnes un mix à 0.1 minus 0.1, tu vas donner aucune marge de gain à ton master ingénieur. C'est un peu ce que tu voulais dire, Adam, n'est-ce pas? Ouais, exactement. Donc, ce que Paul a répondu, c'est que lorsqu'il va exporter le morceau, il va réduire le volume général. Il a d'ailleurs montré un plugin qui le fait très très bien. Voilà, c'était un peu la question. Et je pense que Adam a une autre question.
Well, no, I was just going to continue on that. Because in that situation, you're kind of doing your own master after the mix, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you ever do work these days where you're just doing a mix and sending it to a master engineer, and then they ever say to you, "What the fuck? Like, what's going on with this mix?"
That's a great question, and I've got a great answer for you. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
A lot of people are going to tell you to reduce your mix by 6 dBs to give them some headroom to play with, right? And I say, screw them. They can turn it down 6 dBs themselves. Okay? There's your answer. They can turn it down 6 dBs, motherfuckers. Okay? Why the fuck should I compromise my work for them to get the glory? Yeah.
Okay, I got a question back into...
I can't see shit. Yeah. There you are. Yeah. Hi.
About the mono thing on the kick.
Yes.
What does the plugin do to get things mono? Because if you're just summing to mono, you're just getting your phase cancellation into mono.
Sorry, one more time. I'm trying to understand what your point is. Yeah.
When you make the low end of your kick into mono.
Yes.
This is to avoid any kind of fuzz cancellation between your left and right.
No, it's not. The idea is this: it's okay. We talk about the sound stage in mixing, yeah, and the sound stage is, here's the concept, right? To make it easier for the listener to get their head around what is happening in a mix, we want to make it easy for them. So what we do is we tend to adhere to the concept of the sound stage. So if you look at a stage, there's the band. What's in the middle? Well, the lead singer is in the middle, and that's why we pan the singer into the middle of the mix. Even if she then or he has stereo effects, the voice is panned into the phantom center. Same with the bass. Same with the snare drum. Where's the drum kit on a stage? It's in the middle of the stage, right? Okay? And that's actually the reason why we put the kick and the bass in the center. And what is also for us to have clarity on every single sound in a mix. So that the idea of this is that you only have the kick, the bass, the snare, the lead vocal in the center. Nothing else is allowed in the center. So everything else has to be, I would say, fanned out like a hand of cards, you know? You fan, so you'll have like hi-hats and tom-toms slightly panned out. You'll have pads, strings, a lot of synthesizers really hard panned, like really on the edges of the mixes, yeah? You'll have a lot of synthesizers and guitars, like 30 degrees maybe panned left and right. Yeah, you with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So that really is actually, it's not about phase at all. It's actually just about coherency. You know what, another thing I always say to producers is, and mixers is, look, the listener, always listen yourself as if you are that listener who's never heard this piece of music before in their life. They're hearing your music for the first time. Don't bombard them with information. This is down to that thing where, you know, don't have too many things happening in your mix, because when that person hears that for the first time, it's going to be like a bombardment of sound, and they're going to find it hard to get into liking your music because you're giving them too much information. Yeah, it's an information overload. And if you then order things so that you know, in the center are just these sounds, just there and there are those sounds, and on the edges are those sounds, it just makes it easier for people to assimilate what this piece of music is telling them what it's about. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Cool. Okay, so look, you know, I did say as far as, you know, mastering, no, I don't turn my, I have done in the past until I thought, why am I doing this? You know, because everything that you put on your stereo bus is your hearing, okay? So why then go and take some of it off and hope that the mastering engineer will put stuff back on that, you know, it's crazy. It's a crazy concept. So no, I don't take anything off my mix. In fact, here's the truth. I haven't finished telling you how fucking loud I make my mixes. Because these days, you need to make fucking loud mixes, okay? And you're up against people who are masters at making shit so much louder. And this is where I use things like after I've mastered my mix to minus 0.1 dBs, which, as I told you, is as loud as something can be without clipping, okay? Because I don't want to distort my mix. Absolutely do not want to distort my mix, right? So what I then do is I get, here's my mix. What have I done? I know what I've done. I've moved on some different drums, and let's just do this, because I'm now going to show you about the very famous NYC compression. I know what I've done. I know what I've done. Damn. Okay, yeah. All right, what I do is I use a plugin. There are a few plugins that will do this, but I use a plugin called Master Plan. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Master Plan. Right, well, Master Plan, you put that on as your last plugin, and where you were at 0.01 below, you know, 0.1 of a dB below 0, I can now turn that up, easily turn that up 4 dBs, maybe more. And with this plugin, it's transparent. It's the most transparent limiter you've ever heard in your life. And I guarantee you that all the pros are using this. So when you hear your mix compared to their mix is going to have the perceived loudness of being a lot louder than your mix. And that's because they're all using things like this. Okay?
Can we hear the result on that? Can you
what I'm
do
going to
that?
have to do is, I tell you what I'll do. Look, let's take Master Plan. I'm going to go back to my my ghastly sounding kick drum, okay? Let's just do this. Yeah, let's hear this. There's a really loud kick drum, okay?
So that's the not point
As
1.
you can see, look here, let's just zoom in on that.
0.1.
That is, I can see what I have to
move
do.
your-
I have to,
Now you move your cursor. Move your cursor
I
to the
know,
right.
yeah.
Then zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
Okay,
go.
look,
Yeah.
you can see very clearly that I have got that at minus 0.1 dBs. That's apparently as loud as I can get it without it clipping. Well, it's not actually, because that's now... See, this limiter is not allowing this plugin to do its job. This limiter is...
Ah, yeah, ok, on n'entend pas parce qu'il y a un limiteur dans la salle. Il y a un limiteur sur le sound system ici. Et c'est ça depuis le début de la démo qui nous empêche un petit peu d'entendre ce qu'il fait. Hein.
Well, maybe I want to do what? Reduce my volume.
On va descendre.
Mine. I reduce volume, and now I think we can.
I hear you, what you're saying, man. So if I bring my volume down, yeah?
Ok, on va essayer de faire ce qu'on peut faire.
I told you. Okay.
Okay, there you go. We're now, obviously I've turned my volume down, so that is...
I push up the maximum before it's limits.
Okay, so now I can turn it up and we'll hear it turn up, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah, let's try it. Yeah.
All right, let's go. So that is your hearing minus 0.1. Now, master plan will transparently turn that up shitloads.
Yeah, we can hear it now. Yeah, we can hear it before. Yeah.
And you can hear.
And it's still minus 0.2 there.
It has not changed my level. Magic. Thank you for that, man. Cool.
Paul,
yes.
Maybe one last little, if I may, one last little trick about the relationship between bass and kick. Can we see that before we go? Because we're going to have to leave in a minute. But
let's
I
do
think
that.
People would love to see that.
Let's do that. So let's get a bass, okay? Let's get a bass, and this is how... Now, you saw what I did. I split the kick into 3 sounds, yeah? Okay, so we know that. I'm now going to do something very similar to a bass. Where's my bass? I get it. Here's my bass. All right, and let's take that plugin off. So to give me the same kind of control over a bass as I showed you I can get over a kick, here's my bass. Now that's a bass guitar. Doesn't matter, same thing applies. Okay? I use a multi-band expander on basses.
That sounds expensive.
I've given you guys a multi-band expander. And a good one. I have given you one, okay? So let's have it. Some people call multi-band compression expansion, some people call it a dynamic EQ. Okay, they're actually basically the same thing, okay? So let me show you the one that I tend to use. It's the industry standard. It's by Fab Filter. I think you've all heard of Fab Filter. I'll be surprised if you haven't. Yeah. So, okay, look, here's how you do it, okay? I go with five bands, okay? So what I do is, I tell you what, let's turn that one off and show you how I do it. So let's just grab another Pro MB. Okay, and let's go Fab Filter. Pro MB, there you are. And this is how I do it, right? Bass in solo. Okay, first thing I do is grab a sub band. The narrowest I can make it, double click. There's my sub band. Let's solo it. Yeah, pure subs. Okay. What I do is I make sure that I'm expanding. That's called upward expansion. It does the opposite of compression. Rather than pushing something down when it gets loud, it pushes quiet stuff up. Cool. This is...
Donc, ce que Paul est en train d'utiliser, c'est un expandeur au lieu d'un compresseur qui fait l'inverse de la compression. Au lieu de réduire le volume d'un signal qui passe au-dessus d'un seuil, l'expandeur va augmenter le volume d'un signal qui passe au-dessus d'un seuil. Et là, il utilise donc des bandes séparées. Il en utilisait 5 tout à l'heure. Voilà, là, il l'utilise sur la sub.
Okay. So what I do is I solo it, make sure that I'm expanding, and then I push it up. Till it sounds too saturated. Then I'll pull it back a bit. Then I'll make my next band. Now this usually goes up to about 250, 300 hertz. Okay? This is the body of your bass. This is the main part of the bass. It's muted at the moment. This is the main part of the bass that people are going to hear. I make sure I'm also, once again, expanding. And I solo that. Now I'm going to turn down because I've taken on board your bit of advice there. Okay. That's the main part of the bass that people hear, right? So what I'm going to do is expand, and I'm going to push that up. Okay? Don't worry, I'm going to come back and tweak. I'm going to come back and fine-tune this. But now let's grab the next bit. And this usually goes up to about 2K, okay? Often, more likely, this band is from 500 to 2K, so I can move this one along to 500. There, you hear that, don't you? It's focused. And that I call the note, okay? That's the note. That's, you hear the fingers, you hear the fretboard, if this is a synth bass, it's still the same deal. That's where you get definition on what notes are being played. So I'm going to turn that up.
Cette bande de fréquence nous permet d'entendre la note qui est jouée par le doigt, que ce soit un synthétiseur ou une basse guitare.
Okay. And you'll be pleased to know that the next band, and I can even take that all the way up to the top. Listen to that. Do you know what I do with that? Guess. I mute it. Yeah, who the fuck wants to hear that in the bass? And that is gonna mess with other shit that we want to hear in that frequency range. Okay, who wants to hear the bass in that frequency range? Nobody. Okay, so I mute the top end. And all I'm losing, just to remind you, all I'm losing is this. I mean, yeah, no? So that's the secret to getting a great bass sound every time. And of course, now let's put that into the perspective that Freddie asked me to put it into, all right? So you've got your kick drum separated into 3 frequency ranges: sub, body, transient, okay? You've now got your bass split into 3 frequency ranges: sub, body, note. And what you can do is, see, here's a great way to explain this, hopefully, right? I often mix with the client, and the client will say something to me like, yeah, Paul. And we're like really close to the end of a mix, right? Really close to the end of the mix. And he might say to me, hey, Paul, can we turn the kick drum up a bit? And I'll say, at this point in the mix, it's not turning the kick drum up. It's turning up particular frequencies in the kick drum we're talking, yeah? Because we are so close to this mix being there. Turning up the whole frequency range of a kick drum is just going to mess with the mix too much. You get me? Yeah. So don't say, let's turn the bass up. You know, that's like cracking a nut with a sledgehammer? You know, it's like, no.
Ça veut dire, là, il vient de dire qu'il allait casser des couilles avec un gros marteau. Je tenais à traduire ça.
Yeah? Okay, so just to remind you, this is what the bass sounded like. That's what was recorded. Now, hey, you guys probably use synth basses. I work with synth basses, but the principles are the same. Now, here's what I did with it with Pro MB. Okay? Hey, it's a man now. Okay? And of course, later on in the mix, what I can do is mess with when I've got my kick and my bass. And don't forget, I told you, if you do low cuts, or would you rather I call them high-pass filters, if you do enough if the good low cutting, high-pass filtering, if you do that really well on everything in the mix except the kick and the bass, actually then tweaking the 3 frequency ranges of the bass and the 3 frequency ranges of the kick, so perfectly beautifully, you're just going to get those things sounding great.
Si vous utilisez des filtres passe haut ou coup bas, comme il a dit, correctement sur l'ensemble des éléments de votre mix, à part le kick et la basse, une fois que vous avez vos 3 bandes de contrôle sur le kick et sur la basse, si vous les équilibrez correctement, vu qu'il n'y a plus rien qui vous emmerde en dessous de 120 Hz, vous allez voir que vous arrivez à exactement arranger les deux pour qu'ils cohabitent correctement. There you go, mate. Put it on the cake.
Shall we talk? Sorry, it's only vape, I promise, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. So, shall I talk about New York compression, or shall we call that a wrap, or should we
yeah,
do?
probably, yeah.
Okay, let's quickly...
An hour and a half.
Now-
Messieurs, dames, c'était Paul Walla qui a dévoilé pour vous quelques principes sous-jacents de la production des drums. Messieurs, dames, Paul Walla.
Thank you.
On
Thank
voit-
you.
on voit-
Honestly, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
We could stay there. We could stay there all night. But the principle of this, program and this thing is that we should try and give in an hour and a half
Absolutely.
as much knowledge as we can. And then you know how it is. You give too much knowledge, it goes one ear because you have the other.
I know.
So we'll keep it to that to those wonderful. Principles that you've set, and I think if everybody understood like these 4 or 5 principles you gave us and work around that, I think they've taken something tonight. And I thank you very much for your knowledge and your patience with
You're
us. Thank you.
very welcome. Do you know what? Freddie could ask me to walk to the end of the earth, and I would.
Yeah,
but I'm more than.
matey.
You know what? You know what it is, man. I come here, and I really want to give you guys something. And I don't want it to be something that doesn't work out for you guys. What I have taught you, the only reason I've taught you it is because it works for me, I guarantee you. Okay?
Merci Paul, merci beaucoup. Donc rappelez-vous que vous pouvez aller sur le site de Fastlane, vous trouverez l'article qui parle de ce soir. En fait, c'est l'article du MAUG. En fait, tous les mois, il y a un article qui explique qui est Paul, qui explique qui est Fred, qui est venu ce soir. Et dans cet article, vous trouverez le lien pour télécharger les samples et tous les installeurs de plugins qu'il a préparés pour vous. Il a des installeurs pour PC et pour Mac. Sont que des plugins gratuits, bien sûr, aucun crack. Et vous pourrez reproduire le multiband transient designer. Vous pourrez reproduire which other one? On a un plugin aussi pour réduire la.
Oh, the one I used or the one I've given them?
Yeah, they're giving them. Yeah, analog session as well. That's the transient designer. And then we also have. Vous aurez aussi l'opportunité de récupérer un plugin qui va vous permettre de réduire la largeur de vos sons, etc. Donc merci. Ça c'est pour télécharger tout de suite ce soir si vous voulez essayer chez vous là maintenant. Allez les chercher. Voilà, merci. C'était le MAUG du 13 novembre. Merci encore à Fred Main qui est là-bas et qui nous a expliqué un petit peu les dessous du décor du Live Chinese Man. Yes, mate. Okay, and then bien sûr, on se retrouve le mois prochain. On va parler de Pologne, mais le mois prochain, c'est le 8 décembre. Donc, c'est un peu moins d'un mois. C'est marrant parce que le mois dernier, on avait que 3 semaines entre les deux MAUG. Là, on a que 3 semaines entre les MAUG. On resserre. Après, voilà, il y a aussi la soirée du 18 décembre où on fait le lancement d'un Fastlane Records. Vous savez, on a la label de l'école où on lance des albums de nos élèves et parfois de nos fantastiques formateurs. Donc voilà, on a dû négocier entre le prochain MAUG et la soirée la soirée de Noël en fait, hein, on danse et tout. Et donc le mois prochain, le 8 décembre, on reçoit Citizen Kane. Donc Citizen Kane, artiste de techno de renommée internationale, qui habite à Montpellier, qui est un ami, et qui est déjà venu au MAUG il y a genre 7-8 ans, et qu'on s'est croisé l'autre jour. Il avait envie d'en refaire un. Donc Citizen Kane, Bruno viendra nous parler de ses techniques de production. Voilà, c'est un de techniques de production proper, EDM, comme disait tout à l'heure Paul, hein, Electronic Dance Music. C'est un acteur assez sérieux sur la scène internationale, Bruno, donc on peut croire qu'il sait ce qu'il fait. On aura aussi Laurent Laroche, j'ai oublié le nom, c'est quoi ce Laurent Laroche, jeune homme qui utilise l'AI pour créer des voix. En fait, c'est pas une personne qui va prendre l'intelligence artificielle pour recréer votre voix, c'est quelqu'un qui va entraîner une intelligence artificielle pour créer une voix et qui va en faire une pop star. Donc, c'est quelqu'un qui utilise professionnellement l'AI pour créer des chanteurs et des chanteuses. Donc c'est intéressant, je trouve, de voir quelqu'un qui utilise ça de manière professionnelle. Je pensais que ça nous plairait tous de voir ça. Donc voilà, c'est le prochain programme du MAUG, le 8 décembre. En attendant, Un gros merci au Blackout, comme tous les mois, hein, n'est-ce pas? Avec Clément à la régie audio, son.
Et son éditeur.
Et Malo qui était ici aux réseaux sociaux et à la technique en général, et Paul qui s'occupait de la régie vidéo. Merci à vous si vous étiez sur internet en train de nous regarder comme tous les mois. Je sais qu'il y a de plus en plus de gens qui nous suivent régulièrement sur internet, c'est intéressant. On a eu beaucoup de mal pendant des années, puis d'un coup je sais pas pourquoi, il y a un truc qui se passe, les gens commencent à comprendre que c'était cool. Merci à vous d'être là, comme tous les mois, hein, je crois, hein. On commence à être un peu entre nous maintenant. Voilà. Et puis bien sûr, bon voilà, ils ont voyagé de loin. Paul, il est venu d'Angleterre pour nous rejoindre ce soir. A big thanks to one of my very old friends and one of my mentors who's taught me so much. Thank you, Paul, and very kind of you to transparent you.
It was my pleasure, and I'm just going to say to you guys, he's going to put that up as a video. This up as a video anyway. You're going to put it up as a video.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, this is. Yeah. Si vous avez raté quelque chose en marche, vous savez qu'on archive toutes les présentations. On refait le son aussi un peu après pour améliorer le rendu. Et donc voilà, vous pourrez dès demain ou dès la semaine prochaine regarder la présentation d'abord de Fred et d'abord de fin. Et vous pouvez regarder toutes les archives depuis 11 ans de toutes nos présentations. Qui vous permettront d'apprendre plein de trucs super géniaux. Par exemple, je parlais tout à l'heure des traitements parallèles qu'on avait vu avec Julien Stasma qui était venu, qui était une super présentation sur les traitements parallèles, la distorsion parallèle, la compression parallèle. Regardez ça, par exemple, si vous voulez compléter un petit peu votre savoir-faire par rapport à ce qu'a montré Paul. Encore merci à vous d'être là. Merci Fred. Merci Paul. On se voit le mois prochain. Ciao.
Fastlane.